Good morning. My name is Teresa Owens, and this is my video to introduce myself and to let you know that I am an ex-meth addict who has been clean since 2013, and just want to let you know a little bit about myself. I am from Batesville, Arkansas. I now currently live in Harrison, Arkansas, and I worked with the community in helping the homeless and reaching out to people who are struggling still with addiction. I have one child. I've been married for 18 years. I started getting into the adult life very early on. I was 14 when I got married. I was 15 when I had my son. His name is Timothy Neal. And I was 17 when my husband passed away. I struggled for 26 years. 17 of those were actual addiction and shooting dope. If this stuff bothers you, I advise you not to watch it because I don't want to trigger anyone. But it is going to be pretty graphic from this point on. I was shooting dope by the time, and I'd never even smoked a joint. I went straight to doing that at the age of 15. My child was 3 months old, and sorry, I lost my train of thought. I was 15. He was 3 months old, and my husband was working on the farm. And after he passed away 2 years later, he was hit by a car walking down the road, and I just fell to pieces. I slept on his grave for about 3 months. I got really close to my cousin, Cleveland Harper, and then that was in January when my husband passed away. In April, I was sitting at the church parking lot where everybody sat. We were really young at that time, and my other cousin, Becky, drove up and asked me where Cleveland was and what I was doing. And I said, I'm sitting here waiting on Cleveland to get back. He was going to go ride a motorcycle, and he's going to meet me right here. And she said, no, Cleveland's not going to meet you, Teresa. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, Cleveland was killed just a few minutes ago, and I lost it. That was the end of me getting close to anybody. I started yelling and screaming, and I barely remember the funeral. They buried him right across the road from my husband, so it was like doing it all over again. For 26 years, I lost my way. I done pills, I shot meth, I drank. I mean, anything that you can imagine, I was out there doing. I stayed in jail. I mean, there was hardly ever a Christmas or a Thanksgiving that I was home. Every time my mama would pray, I would end up in jail. I did close to 5 calendar years in the Independence County Jail. And I'm now currently trying to get into jail ministry in Harrison, Arkansas. And we all have our ups and downs. You know, it's what you make of it. You know, excuse me, it's what you make of it. And I can honestly say that it is very difficult some days still, but the payoff is way far better than anything that Satan could ever stir up. That immediate glamour is not anything that catches my eye anymore. So, I got married several times. I was looking for love, and I was looking to fill this gaping hole in me, and there's not anything that can fill that hole except for God. And God speaks to me a lot. Don't let me get off track, but I just want to say that when I was in my addiction, I was preaching. I was preaching the word, and I was talking to people, and I already knew that I was a child of God. So, if you're doing those things, you are called. You're stumbling on your own rocks. You're putting your own cuds in your wheel, so to speak. So, at the age of about 30, I started to settle down just a little bit, not a lot. And at the age of 40, they told me that I was fixing to be 41. They told me that I had tumors, that I had possibly had cancer, ovarian cancer. And, excuse me, my sister was at the clinic that I went to. She's a nurse. And they told me that when they called me on the phone, they said that these tumors were huge. They didn't know there was two at the time. And that the cancer in my blood, the exact words was, the doctor said, "Teresa, 30 is low, 100 is high, yours is 17,000. And I hit my knees. Did it stop me from getting high? No. Nothing has stopped me from getting high except for me. And so I went up there and straight to my sister, because I knew she was fixing to read these results. And we cried, and it was a very emotional meeting that me and my sister have never experienced until the last few years. And she suffers with pancreatitis, severe pancreatitis, and it is getting worse. So I'm asking for prayer for her. Her name is Paula. And but anyway, in 2001, I come out of Texas prison and met my husband. We continued in my addiction and his addiction, because, of course, I was not going to have someone that was not an addict. And I thought I found love. So in 2003, in June the 14th, of course, he says the 15th. And, but, we were married, and we have been in active addiction until 2013. I was arrested. Oh, and I forget to tell you that I spent many days in jail and in prison. throughout this time that we have been married. And of course, there was cheating, and there was everything that goes with active addiction was there. The fighting, the not having a place to live, the, you know, you name it. Well, right before 2013, a man walks in my house and he tells me, Teresa, I'm going to leave this here. It was a pound of meth. And I said, no, you're not. And he said, yes, I am. And of course, I'm an addict. I'm going to keep it there. Didn't want the whole thing. I knew what was going to happen. I've never been dumb about anything. I know what consequences come. So, we're selling drugs, and we're in it deep, real deep. And in 2013, they arrest me for selling a 8-ball to an undercover officer, and I go to jail. Well, I'm going to let you know that I've never done anything easy, and it's made me a very, very, very strong woman. I just had surgery. I'm kind of going back and forth because this is the way it went. I just had surgery. They removed 2 tumors that were as big as my fist. They didn't know there was 2 because the one was so big that the other one was hiding behind it. And I remember at the hospital coming out of the surgery, and the doctor was standing, the gynecologist was standing at the end of my bed, and he said, there's 2 things I have to tell you. One, that there was 2 tumors, not 1, and you're cancer free. And I passed out, laying in the bed, because I just knew I was going to die. You know, you don't think life when you're in death. And so I'm passed out in the bed, and let me skip back to 2013. I just had surgery a few months before that, and they arrest me, and I sat in jail I had surgery in March 2013. I sold to undercover in April of 2013. In September of 2013, they arrest me, and I sat in jail till July of 2014. And I pled. Well, they come in, and my appointed attorney came in and told me that they offered me 40 years. And I just turned around and walked out. You know, I wasn't going to hear it. We're going to do it. And my heart was broken, because I was going to, by this time my son had I'd gotten used to being away from him. He grew up at my mother's, and I made sure he had what he needed, but other than that, that's where he stayed. Okay, so in July, I went to prison. They offered me 40 years. I went back to my cell, and I remember this like it was yesterday. I'll never forget it as long as I live. And I'm laying on a blanket in the floor, because at this point, I haven't got settled into the jail at all. I mean, they had just come up, it had just been like a week or so. And I was still coming off the meth. And I laid in that floor and I cried like I'd never cried before. And I said, God, why do I have to do so long? Why am I going to be locked up away from my family? And the still small voice, I remember it so well, said, because you're still rebellious. And it broke my heart because I knew it was true. I knew that I was so rebellious and that I would not listen, and that this was how God was going to use me, and he was going to sit me down and make me think about some things. So I cried and I set my time, and they come at me with some more offers, and I finally told him, I said, look, you go back and ask them, sorry about that, you go back and ask them if they'll give me 15 years on a third instead of having to do a half like they had offered, or because the 40 years was the first offer. And so he did, and I said, I'll sign the papers today if you can get that, and he did. And they come back and they said, we'll give you 10 years with 5 stacked on top of it. And so I signed the plea, and I went to prison, and I spent 2.5, almost 3 years in prison. And I learned a lot about the Bible. I learned a lot about me. I learned a lot about other people. And I'm going to stop right there because it starts turning. My life starts turning right there. And there's some things that I want to tell you about prison, and that's going to be another video. But that's my introduction. And for you that are suffering today, I am praying for you. People that don't have anyone to pray for you for them, that don't have any family, friends, or in active addiction, I'm praying for you. And know today that when that voice is in your head and it says, you can't pray, you're an addict, or you're fixing to do some dope. I've prayed before I've done dope. Call it what you want to, but that's what got me through. And when the only thing that is keeping you separated from God is you sitting or laying and not being on your knees. That's it. The prayer that you say on your knees, that will bring you right back to God. Y'all have a blessed day. Once again, my name is Teresa Owens, and click the like button, share this, and y'all have a blessed day. Thank you.